What is up? This is Alex from Double Move Sports, back today with a Dynasty Startup mock draft. We're finally through the NFL draft. We have the landing spots. We see what the situations could be for these veteran players as well. So with a lot of rookie drafts going on right now, I know there's also going to be a lot of Dynasty startups happening. So I want to get in to these Superflex leagues here today and break down what I like to do in terms of roster construction, in terms of age, in terms of building a roster and strategy for these Dynasty leagues. So as I said, it's going to be a Superflex league I am drafting today. I'm using the Fantasy Pros mock draft simulator, and it's going to be one quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, a tight end, a flex, and a Superflex. Today I'm just getting into 8 bench spots. Most of these leagues are going to be 20, 25 bench spots, but I know you don't want to see me breaking down the decision between, Boston Scott and Jordan Wilkins in the 18th round. So for that purpose, we're just going to go 8 deep on the bench. There's going to be 12 teams, and I'm going to go ahead and randomize my draft pick here, and it looks like I got the 11th pick. So we will go ahead and jump right into it. This one's going to be interesting at spot 11. And off the board at the 101, as he should be, looks like Patrick Mahomes, followed by Christian McCaffrey, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Allen, DK Metcalf at the 105. That's a little bit early for wide receiver for me. But then Saquon, Dalvin Cook, Kyler, Devontae Adams, and Dak Prescott. So we're here at the 111. And one thing I typically always try to do in these Dynasty startup leagues, if it's Superflex, is get out of round 1 and round 2 with a stud upside quarterback. Right now, that group for me is Mahomes, Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and Lamar. Those guys that can do it with their legs, that have the extreme upside because of the rushing ability. And then I also want to come out with a stud running back. So given the board here, given that Mahomes, Allen, Kyler, and Dak are already off the board, I don't want to risk getting through that turn and losing Lamar and not getting that stud upside quarterback. You could go Herbert or Russell Wilson as well, Trevor Lawrence. Those are all guys I like in that second round range, but I really want one of those cheat codes with his legs. So for that reason, I'm going to go ahead and lock in Lamar here. I know Kamara's on the board, A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hill, Derrick Henry, a lot of other good players, but I want that quarterback, and I still think I can pick through the running backs and the wide receivers to get another super, super talented player early in the second round. So Lamar Jackson is going to be the pick there for me. Looks like Alvin Kamara and Tyreek Hill went off the board at the 112 and 201. So like I said, I'm back. I got my quarterback. Now I want to get that stud running back to start this Dynasty roster, get another good cornerstone piece, because quarterbacks and running backs in these super flex leagues are very scarce and very, very tough to come by. So A.J. Brown is there. I'm not quite tempted to take the receiver position here. I see Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, Cam Akers, Zeke, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones on the board. I'm going to go with Cam Akers here, a little bit more unproven, but he's an appreciating asset. He's still early in his career. Over the next couple seasons, he's going to continue to gain value. Where Derrick Henry and Nick Chubb, well, I think they still have a couple of years of solid peak production left. They're going to start declining, descending in value, depreciating in value over the next couple of seasons. So I'm going to lock in Cam Akers. And this is a draft, situation that I've found myself in time and time again. Lamar Jackson, Cam Akers. And it could be Dak Prescott, Nick Chubb. It could be Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Jones, Patrick Mahomes, DeAndre Swift. These roster builds with that stud quarterback, stud running back, I just absolutely love, because I think you can get wide receiver value later on. So let's see how this draft turned out and see in round 2, we saw a big running back run. Zeke, Henry, Dobbins, started to see some receivers as well. A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase at the 209. That's earlier than I've been seeing him going. I've been seeing Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Najee Harris go before Jamar Chase. So a little bit surprising to see him there in the simulator. We did see Deshaun Watson go at the 303, Justin Herbert at the 306, and Joe Burrow at the 310. So a lot of those quarterbacks coming off the board early. Kittle and Kelsey went. Najee Harris at the 308, an interesting pick there. I would actually take Najee probably over CEH, probably over DeAndre Swift. I'm comfortable taking Najee in the back of the second round if possible. I'm really, really high on him. But at the 311, now we're back on the clock, and we got tons of options. We could go quarterback, lock up Trevor Lawrence, Trevor Lawrence, be set at that position for a while. Darren Waller's there at tight end. At receiver, you got Calvin Ridley, CeeDee Lamb, just incredible upside guys. But there's guys I love at running back as well. And like I said, running backs get very, very scarce in these dynasty leagues. Gibson, Joe Mixon, Austin Eckler, all stick out to me. I really, really am high on Joe Mixon. I know this is going to be a little bit of a polarizing pick because of how much he has burned people in the past, but in Cincinnati, Giovanni Bernard is gone. Joe Burrow should be healthy. They're building a good offense. No, they didn't take Sewell in the first round on that offensive line like I would have liked to see them do, but they made a couple of small improvements on that line in the offseason. I think Mixon is going to be a workhorse. So I'm going to lock him in here as my running back 2 and start this draft. Lamar Jackson, Cam Akers, and Joe Mixon. After Mixon went Ridley, who I would have loved to have in the 4th round, and Darren Waller. And now I want to go ahead and get that upside wide receiver, that youth. Trevor Lawrence is so tempting here as well. Still being on the board in the 4th round. That is an incredible value in these drafts. I honestly don't think he realistically is going to be available in your 4th round. So because I don't think it's realistic, I'm not going to take him here. Otherwise, I think I would go ahead and smash that pick. But there's plenty of other good quarterbacks we can get later on. But I'm going to lock in CeeDee Lamb. You can see a theme on this team going with that youth that should continue to build on their production as they move forward in the next 2, 3, 4 seasons. So I'm going to lock in CeeDee Lamb as my wide receiver 1. Yes, there are mouths to feed in Dallas, but he proved he can be the number 2 target for Dak Prescott. Michael Gallup is coming up to the end of his rookie contract. Amari Cooper has an out in his contract after this season. So CeeDee Lamb could find him in a very, very good situation sooner rather than later. And it looks like Amari Cooper is still on the board there. But let's see who went after CeeDee Lamb. A lot of these running backs, Gibson, Sanders, Eckler, Josh Jacobs. Then we saw some of the young quarterbacks go. Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, Jalen Hurts, Tua. Aaron Rodgers was in there as well. And we did see a big run of wide receivers. You see, the McLaurins, Robinsons, DJ Moore. That's a really, really good tier of wide receiver. But now we're back on the board. We could really go any position here. We have 2 running backs, 1 wide receiver, 1 quarterback. Justin Fields is very, very tempting here in the 5th round. You have good receivers available as well. I think I can wait on the wide receiver position and still get good value later on. So I'm really looking at running back and quarterback here. Fields is tempting. He's the name that really sticks out at the quarterback spot for upside to pair with Lamar Jackson. That's just a fantastic combo. Running backs looking a little thin. I think I might have to hit them on the turn, but I got to take the value on Justin Fields here. I don't realistically think he's going to drop here in drafts, but while it's there in Fantasy Pros, I'm going to take it. Justin Fields is going to be flying off your boards much earlier than this, but we're going to take the value here in the 5th round. Say what you want about the value. I'm just playing the board. If there are more accurate mock draft simulators out there, please let me know in the comments below because I want these to be as accurate and realistic as possible. So now we have Justin Fields at our QB2 Superflex spot. We saw Tannehill and T. Higgins go on the turn here. And the running backs are drying up very, very fast. So I'm tempted to dip back in and get my RB3 and shore up the wide receiver spots next round. And the top options are Chris Carson, who I'm not interested in. I think his value is about to plummet. I think he'll be good this season, maybe even next season. But I want those appreciating assets. Javonte Williams sticks out to me here. I think he might have the most longevity in terms of upside at the running back spot. Like Kareem Hunt is good as well. Robinson, Gaskin, Rojo, Damian Harris, Chase Edmonds, Melvin Gordon, that whole tier of guys, this could be their last season of relevancy for all we know. So I'm kind of fading that whole group, and I'm going to lock in Javonte Williams, your rookie running back in Denver. Might be a slow ramp up this year, but he's my RB3, so I don't necessarily need him to be a stud this season. But as Melvin Gordon transitions out of Denver, I think Javonte is going to take over. So I'm going to lock in Javonte Williams here in the 6th round. Might be a little bit rich, early 6, over some of these wide receivers, the Cortland Suttons, Amari Coopers of the world. But I just need another running back, and the way this draft is falling, I don't want to miss out and be stuck with a Trey Sermon, Kenyon Drake as my RB3. So we had a lot of picks, wow, and a lot of those wide receivers go. That group of wide receivers that I'm really comfortable taking look like they do fall in the 6th, 7th round. Cooper, Deontay Johnson, Claypool, Sutton, Kenny G, Juju, Devontae Smith, Debo, Julio, Robert Woods. A lot of really, really good wide receivers going off the board here. We saw Kyle Pitts go as the tight end 5. I think that's fine. I think he could even be around earlier, up in there with the Mark Andrews range, so I don't mind that pick at all. TJ Hawkinson went as well. So at this point, I'm really fading the tight end spot and just picking up a couple values there later that are just going to be streamers. And looking at this board, I need wide receiver. I got CeeDee Lamb. And there's some good names here. Jerry Judy, DJ Chark, Jaylen Waddle. I'm obviously building this team based on youth, and it's a team that's young that I don't think is going to contend maybe year 1. but all these guys should be appreciating assets. Lamar, Akers, Mixon, Lamb, Javonte Fields. These guys should continue to step up the next season and the next season. So 1, 2, 3 years from now, I think this could be a very, very stud team. So kind of keeping that in mind, I'm going to lock up Jerry Judy here as a value, as my wide receiver 2. I think he should take a step forward in year 2. The quarterback play is hit or miss. Getting Teddy there is going to create a quarterback battle, so at least they'll have options at the quarterback position. As of this recording, who knows what's going to happen with Aaron Rodgers as well. So we're going to lock in Jerry Judy as our wide receiver 2. And when this board comes back around to us, we're going to go ahead and smash wide receiver again. So it does look like Chris Carson and Kirk Cousins went off the board after the Judy pick. We're going to go right back to the wide receiver spot. And this pick for me is really between DJ Chark in Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence there, or Jaylen Waddle in Miami as a rookie. Will Fuller's on a 1-year deal. I think Waddle is a great player. I think he's going to play in the slot there and be a PPR monster, especially with what he can do after the catch. So this is a tough pick between Chark and Waddle. Looking at my team, I got a lot of young players. Both of these guys are pretty young. I'm just going to keep the trend going. We're going to go Jaylen Waddle here. I think that's a tremendous value. Be my wide receiver 3. See how he can develop as a rookie. I love having Javonte and Waddle, my RB3 and wide receiver 3, being rookies because I'm not necessarily going to need to start them every week, but if they start to flash, if they start to show upside, they could make their way right into my starting lineup. So now we're starting to get into these bench spots. Let's look back at the board. We did see a lot of these wide receivers go. Chark, Thielen, Bateman, Brady, Rager, Fuller, and Boyd at wide receiver. We also saw Kareem Hunt and Melvin Gordon go. And this receiver tier, Elijah Moore and Rondale Moore going back-to-back in the 9th round as rookies. Very, very interesting. We saw Myles Gaskin and Trey Sermon, Todd Gurley. That's an early pick for Gurley. Don't do that in the 9th round. Tony Pollard, Damian Harris. A lot of interesting names here in the 9th round. So in these Superflex leagues, I like to get 3 starting quarterbacks. I don't want to be caught in a situation where if one of my quarterbacks gets benched or one of my quarterbacks goes down, I don't have another guy. So I want to go quarterback with one of these 2 picks. I have 3 running backs. I have 3 wide receivers. And Noah Fant is still on the board at tight end. I think he's very, very intriguing, even though I do already have Jerry Judy. I think Fant is intriguing as a tight end. He's athletic. He's finally getting, past those first couple seasons of his NFL career at a position at tight end that historically takes a very, very long time to break out. So I'm eyeing Noah Fant as well. But I'm going to go ahead and take the upside shot here on Daniel Jones in New York. He struggled at times. He's shown some upside at times, but now he gets Kenny Galladay. He has Kadarius Toney. Saquon's healthy. They're building this team around Daniel Jones to help him succeed. I'm going to take the shot on the upside and go with him as my QB3. Fields, I think, should start week 1, but I don't know what Chicago's going to do, so he might not, and I need a starting quarterback to get me going this season. So I'm going to go Daniel Jones as my QB3, and that's probably going to do it for quarterback in this draft. If it was a 20 bench spot draft that I was doing here, I might take a QB4 later on with upside. That's a backup. But for this draft, Lamar, Justin Fields, and Daniel Jones feels really, really good. And now we're back on the clock, and Fant made it through. Let's see who went off the board. Rojo and Taysom Hill at that turn. So we're going to go ahead and lock in Noah Fant at the tight end spot and probably be done with that position for now. In my normal Superflex leagues, I'm going to draft, a Cole Kmet, an Adam Troutman, a Tyler Higbee, a Logan Thomas later on just to get another tight end on my roster that I can stream if I need to. But Noah Fant feels really, really good there. So now we're back on the board. We had another big run of players. Let's see if we can hit some highlights. Michael Gallup at the 10:03. I love the value there. I like Michael Gallup a lot. Michael Carter as well at the 10:04 is interesting, at least as a rookie. Mac Jones came off the board. And then we saw just, a lot of meh players as you start to get into this range. You got Devontae Parker. Amon-Ra St. Brown is interesting as a rookie. Henry Ruggs in the 11th round. That could be a value if he does turn things around this season. We saw some veteran running backs, Mostert, Fournette, Singletary, Zach Moss. So now we're back at the 11-11. And we've got great roster balance here. We have our tight end. We have 3 quarterbacks. We have 3 running backs. We have 3 wide receivers. So now I'm starting to build that depth. And let's see who's there at wide receiver. Some interesting names for sure. But I'm going to go ahead and lock in a running back that sticks out. I can't believe he fell this far. It's Chase Edmonds in Arizona. Yes, I have concerns about them bringing in someone after this season. But right now it looks like he should have a pretty good role there with James Conner being the only other competition brought in. They didn't draft anybody of note at the running back position. So Chase Edmonds could be a value as my RB4. He's a great flex RB3 type of guy who has upside in this offense, which should be a really, really good offense. So I'm going to lock in Chase Edmonds here as my RB4. After Edmonds went Mike Davis and Kadarius Toney, who's a guy I definitely had my eye on. So now I'm going to look back to the wide receiver spot and start building some depth on my bench. And there's another name that sticks out to me a lot. It's Paris Campbell, actually, on the Indianapolis Colts. Paris Campbell got hurt early in the second game last season. But in the first game, he led the team in snaps. He led the team in targets. He was the wide receiver 1 for the Colts. Going into this season with Carson Wentz at quarterback, which should be an upgrade with a good offensive line, should be a good offense. Paris Campbell is healthy. He could be the wide receiver 1 on a good offense. So to get him this late in a draft feels like a steal. He's my wide receiver 4, but I'm going for upside here. He's still young as well, was a second-round pick just a couple seasons ago in the NFL draft. Paris Campbell here is an absolute value. And I actually just traded in one of my dynasty leagues a second-round pick for Paris Campbell because I'm a believer in the revival of his career. I think the injuries have just been a little bit unfortunate, but if he can pick things back up, he gives me more upside than some of the guys in the late second round that I think I can get there. So now we're back on the clock. Let's see if there's any interesting names that went off the board in the 12th, 13th round. Jameis, good value there at quarterback. Denzel Mims, Kenny Gainwell, Irv Smith at tight end is a good upside pick there. Derek Carr at the 1304, a perfect QB3 if you are in one of these Superflex leagues and you want to pick one up late. Evan Ingram, Vaughn, Alexander Madison, Jordan Love at the 1309 could be an extreme value depending on what happens with Aaron Rodgers. But now we're back on the clock at the 1311. We have just 4 picks left in this draft. All positions are really in play for us here. At tight end, Jonnu Smith could be interesting to go ahead and snag that second tight end early. At wide receiver, I want to see if there's anyone that sticks out, or at running back. Not really right off the bat anyone that really pops off the page for me. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in Jonnu. I know I said I was going to wait on tight end, but having Noah Fant, still an unproven guy. Jonnu in New England, especially when Mac Jones gets that starting job, could be very, very interesting. They don't have any wide receivers that are going to be target hogs. So Jonnu could literally lead the Patriots in targets this season. I'm going to lock him in as my tight end 2. After Jonnu Smith at that 12-1 turn went Tariq Cohen and Sam Darnold. So I'm back on the clock here. I'm looking at running back. Nyheim Hines is interesting, but I feel like I already have Chase Edmonds to play that role, kind of a plug-in guy if I need him. Rashad Penny is sitting there, and I know he's battled injuries his entire career. I don't know if he's ever going to be healthy, but he's the RB2 in Seattle. Chris Carson's getting older as well. He battles injuries, so I actually think Rashad Penny is in play here. Chuba Hubbard out of Carolina is in play as the backup to CMC as a handcuff. There's some interesting wide receivers as well, but I think I can still take some shots next round. So I'm actually going to take a risk here. I'm going to go Chuba Hubbard, rookie running back. I want some youth with some upside on my bench. And God forbid anything happens to CMC, but he did miss time last season. We saw how valuable this role can be. Chuba is a college player who had tremendous production 2 seasons ago, fell off a little bit last season, but he showed that he can carry that workload. So I think Chuba has upside as a backup if given an opportunity. Now let's take another look at our draft board here before our final 2 picks. We saw a lot of these second-tier tight ends go. Kmet, Logan Thomas, Tanyan, Higbee, Zach Ertz. We also saw a lot of backup running backs. Salvon Ahmed in Miami, he's interesting. Jamal Williams in Detroit, Phillip Lindsay in Houston. So it's starting to get a little bit nasty with some of these players. Jimmy G, Drew Lock, Teddy, just guys competing for these quarterback jobs. So now we're back on the clock. I'm feeling pretty good about our running backs right now. I'm feeling pretty good about our receivers as well. Tight ends, quarterbacks, a very balanced team. So now at these last 2 picks that we're going to pick in this mock, we'll just look for best available. And honestly, Rashad Penny's still there. I talked about him last time. He's one of these running backs that I think has upside if given an opportunity, and he has a clear path to the field. He's really just one player away from seeing tremendous volume and workload. So I'm going to lock in Rashad Penny. Again, we're just taking dart throws here at this point in the draft, so I'm going to lock him in. After Penny went Aguilar and Hayden Hurst. So we're back on the clock with our final pick in this draft. And I'm going to go wide receiver. I'm going to go with Bryan Edwards. 3rd-round pick last season, the youngest breakout age we've ever seen from a college player. Should have an opportunity this season in Vegas. It's him and Henry Ruggs and John Brown there with Darren Waller. So I think Bryan Edwards could break out year 2. I'll take my shot, and we'll know early whether it's going to be his time this season or not. So we'll lock in another young wide receiver with upside here. late in this draft, and that is going to do it. So really quickly, I'll recap my team. I had Lamar Jackson, Justin Fields, and Daniel Jones as my quarterbacks. At running back, Cam Akers, Joe Mixon, Javonte Williams, Chase Edmonds, Chuba Hubbard, and Rashad Penny. At wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, Jerry Judy, Jaylen Waddle, Paris Campbell, and Bryan Edwards. And at tight end, I had Noah Fant and Jonnu Smith. So this team is a very, very interesting build. Again, it's not one I think is going to come out and compete year one, but in Dynasty, I'm thinking long-term, and I think this team, maybe after this season, if I can hit on a couple of these guys and they can continue to take step forwards to break out, the CeeDee Lambs, the Jerry Judys of the world, I could be a contender next season, and if not, the season after that. A lot of appreciating assets on this team. I got my upside quarterback. I got my upside running backs. I have wide receivers with potential as well and pretty good depth. So this is a roster I like, and it's a roster build that I like going with in these Dynasty leagues. So let me know what you think in the comments down below of the squad, and give me the questions that you have about these Dynasty startup drafts, these rookie drafts. We're talking about all sorts of stuff in our Discord channel. That's in the description below. It's free to join. Stef and I are in there answering questions all the time. We got people posting their own startup drafts, and we're answering questions on the fly as people are on the clock. So if you're in there already, you know who you are. Keep those questions coming. It's been a ton of fun. Again, join our Discord below if you want to chat with us and ask us questions. But again, this is Alex from Double Move Sports, and we'll see you next time.